it's a privilege for me to be here, and I think I can speak for Scott saying it's a privilege for him as well. We've looked forward to this for quite some time. We spend a lot of time, as you might imagine, in our own home church, wrestling with who we are and why we are and what we want to be and what we want to do. And so actually we look at this as an opportunity to perhaps even flesh out some of our own thinking. We don't in any measure consider ourselves to be a finished work. And so perhaps some of the dialogue that we have today and some of the things that we share will help to clarify our own thinking about what it is that we want to what it is we want to do. I'm assuming that's working. So we're here today, obviously, to share some thoughts about Burlington Church of the Nazarene and our journey and where we're at and where we'd like to go. And I think I've just realized that I'm going to have to stand because I need to react to the slides. And I don't think it's that difficult. We'll just kind of stand.
We have to let that camera refocus.
Hi, camera. Then I'll stand on that side. I think the first thing that we probably need to tell you, since you may not know much about the Nazarenes, is that we are a real denomination. That if it means anything to you, that we come out of the Wesleyan holiness tradition that was became very strong in the early part of the 20th century, latter part of the 19th century. And if you're really interested in theology, we're probably considered distant cousins to the United Methodists. In fact, one of our principal founders came out of Methodism. Church of the Nazarene was founded in 1908 in Pilot Point, Texas. The Burlington Church actually started in a home in Willingboro in 1959, and then we've been in the current location since 1965 and have added on to that structure. And when I say the church, I actually mean the church building, and that's language that I wrestle with from time to time because we're working really hard to move away from the concept that the church is the building, that the people are the church. But so when I say church, be careful to listen because I may be talking about the people and I may be talking about the building, but more likely I'm going to be talking about the building. Our denomination is founded on regions and districts, and the Philadelphia region is the one that we're a part of, and we're one of 65 Nazarene churches on the Philadelphia district. And if there's anything else you want to know about Nazarenedom, feel free to ask. We ain't going to spend a whole lot of time there. So, if anybody really cares, the picture's a little bit fuzzy, but that's what the building looks like from the south entrance into the driveway. Okay, so if anybody wants to know, if you're driving down Sunset Road in Burlington and you pass that building, that's where we usually wind up on Sunday nights, or Sunday mornings, and sometimes Sunday nights, and sometimes other nights during the week, as well as other venues. I want to talk to you a little bit about, and I invite Scott to add his comments to any of these points, because that was about the time that he joined us. I've been part of the Burlington Church since 1979. It's where I was saved. It was where I was called into ministry 6 years ago. So 8 years ago, we were averaging around 220 every Sunday morning, and that included 60 to 75 teens. So at that time, we thought we were running pretty close to 8 cylinders. We transitioned to 2 Sunday morning services, and in addition, added adult groups for teens and for adults and teens, and they were pretty well packed out as well. So there was a lot of activity going on in the church. In addition, we were doing multiple support groups, 12-step groups, anger groups, divorce-related support groups, and things of that nature. So we thought we were doing well. We thought we were healthy. We thought we were vibrant. We thought that the church was, being the church, victorious. That was our attitude.
And from my standpoint, from a parenthetical note, since I was coming into, as Byron mentioned, I was coming into this My background is one of many different church backgrounds, so I was not necessarily coming in as an ascribed Nazarene trying to find a new, home in the area. I was looking for essentially where God was leading me and my family, and we had actually, just kind of by way of kind of a little bit of my background, we had actually been involved in a couple church plants and all kinds of different things that took us out of our community. And what I was looking for now is a way to be rejoined to the community that I was a part of. And so we basically literally drew like a 5-minute circle around our house and said, we're going to visit every church within this 5-minute radius and figure out where we would effectively feel comfortable that God was leading us. And we had passed by the Burlington Nazarene Church many, many times. I mean, during the course of practically every day that I lived on that, in that area, we'd pass by that church. And it had, even early in our stay in Willingboro, we had actually even gone to the church once, but weren't necessarily impressed at that point. We decided to give it another run, and we had various mental criteria that we were looking for. Interestingly enough, what we were not looking for, even at that time, was a church that essentially had a lot of programs and a lot of things going on. Although we were looking for some measures as to what the health of the church would be like. And one of our tests, believe it or not, was something as simple as how many men are involved in this church. And more specifically, how many men look like they're in positions of leadership. As you might be aware, it seems like more and more in our culture, it seems like the men are just taking a dive when it comes to responsibility as it relates specifically around spiritual things, let alone around leadership. So those were the kinds of tests that we were starting to kind of look at and evaluate the various churches that we went to. And Burlington was, in fact, heading on the right route. And so even though we knew that there was a good many things that we were like, we were impressed with, a lot of what was going on there with, the various groups and stuff like that. That wasn't necessarily the things that were effectively pulling our hearts to kind of come into that congregation. And there was also a sense that God was telling us, and this is very much a prophetic thing, God was telling us, whatever you think you don't like, just wait and watch me work. And it was an amazing thing to see how he was going to change even our perspective around all this kind of stuff.
So we were 8 years ago, we were running pretty close to 8 cylinders as we thought, but we began to notice and experience some things, one of which was the classic ratio of laborers in ministry, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. 20% of the people do 80% of the work. We probably were more like 10% of the people were doing 90% of the work. We had a number of small group leaders, one of which was me at the time, who were involved in multiple ministries, in multiple leadership roles, and trying to balance that along with a professional life, along with a family life. As Tim knows, I had children who are all adults now, and so trying to live a balanced life was very difficult, and we were having more and more challenges trying to maintain balance. And in fact, I think we were failing in many cases. In addition to that, we were doing a poor job of developing people to do ministry. One of the calls of the church, one of the calls of leadership, is to equip people for ministry. We weren't doing that. We certainly weren't doing it very well. Our senior pastor was at the time working 70 to 80 hours a week, and I remember a number of times I came by the church 9 or 10 o'clock to pick something up or to drop something off, or forgot my Bible on Sunday morning, and I wanted to go get it, and he'd be there in the office at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, and this was a constant thing. And despite efforts to convince him that this was unhealthy for him, is unhealthy for his own family, that he felt that this was something that he needed to do. As a consequence of that,